Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Wonder. So this is a movie reaction for Smurf, donation reward, and I I had looked this up to make sure it was the right movie with him when he suggested it, and I recognized one of the actors in it. This one of the like lead actress, I guess. I cannot remember who it was now, for the life of me. I just can't remember. So that means that as of this moment, I know nothing about this film. I don't know what it's about. I don't know when it came out, who's in it. Like I said, I only knew about the one actress being in it when I looked it up, just because I wanted to make sure it was the right movie. But again, I don't remember. um, but we're getting to this as another donation reward. So yeah, uh, most of Smurf's donation rewards have been pretty good. I've enjoyed most of them. So in fact, almost all of them. So there shouldn't be too much of an issue here, hopefully. But I'm definitely excited to see what we got in store for us next. This one has been, I guess you could say, in the process of being done for a little bit now. There's been a couple other movies that were put up before it, but this one's been brought up as an idea from Smurf for a little bit now. And now we're finally getting to it. But I don't really have anything else to say to buffer out these pre-thoughts, so let's just get into it. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So first off, sorry that I had to cut that in the video. It's just because someone came to the door. I felt the need to answer that. It looked like something important. It was about energy or something. Um, but yeah. So on to the movie. Talking about the movie. So every so often, I see a movie that I cannot say is like my favorite movies or anything. That I cannot say is like just especially high up on my like rankings of films I've seen, but they would rank in terms of inspiration, power, and importance. I think of movies like Remember the Titans, or Radio, or To Save a Life, or Pay It Forward, even. Movies with inspirational messages that tackle sometimes very tough subjects and really hit you with the feels for just everything surrounding it with the characters and how you just learn to love them and how you really care for the struggles and the issues going on, and it immerses you in such a way to where its important messages can stick with you a little easier. And it's like with one of those examples, Remember the Titans, like I grew up watching that all the time. Like I'd go to my grandmother's house. That was one of those movies that for a long time, every time I went to my grandmother's house, I would have to watch that movie. Because just everything about it just hit me right. I loved the message. I loved the characters. I loved the humor. I'm not even into football, but and I never really was. But what that movie had to say spoke to me. What it had to say about racism and just how we need to come together and stop all of that stupid bullshit, it spoke to me. And this is one of those movies for sure. That while not necessarily one of the better movies I've seen in terms of like general personal view on quality and whatnot, um, the message it tells, the way it tells it, the characters it tells it with, makes you care. And with me, a lot of that had to do with as well personal connectivity. As I stated in the reaction, I've gone through stuff like this, not for the same reasons, obviously, but I was bullied in school for things like my weight, for my nerdiness, for being more feminine than most assigned male at birth people there. And I was seen as weird. And I became extremely reserved after a certain point, even with having some friends, because I would constantly be picked on, constantly be called names. I was physically bullied, not as heavily as some stories you hear, but I was shoved around quite a lot. People would purposefully bump against me in the hallways. And it led to a lot of other issues, such as extreme self esteem about how I looked, to the point where I would not change, like in the locker rooms, like when we had swim class for gym, or just gym in general, because we would change into gym clothes and all. I would not change in the locker room. I would change in the locker room, but I would not change out amongst everyone else. I would change in a toilet stall. Um, and that stuck with me throughout all of middle school and high school. I would not change in front of anybody. And I'm still cautious about that. I'm still self conscious about that. And I've been left notes like that. And yeah, it's made me upset. It's made me angry and sad and made me lash out at people that really had nothing to do with it. And there were even points where I tried to reciprocate it, where I tried to be on the other end of it just to avoid being picked on. And it got to a point where it caused me to retreat so heavily into my shell that by the time like I really got into high school and everything, I sat alone at lunch. I almost never talked to anyone else. I had after like ninth grade, I had almost no friends in high school, in school specifically, and I was still dealing with being made fun of and shit. Again, because of those same reasons. And so seeing Augie go through this, I mean, granted for clearly different reasons and all, it bothered me because of personal experience. It affected me and it made me really upset because I know what that feels like. And it made a lot of this very hard to watch. And I'm not blaming you, Smurf, for requesting this. I mean, I don't think you knew like the extent of all of this and everything. Uh, I'm not blaming you at all, but it was very hard to watch a lot of that. As you know may have noticed, I was very quiet at certain parts, and I was seething. When I get really angry or really upset, I tend to retreat into myself even further. I tend to get very quiet and tend to seethe in that emotion rather than actually, like, when I get angry, I don't usually yell. I don't yell. I don't get violent or anything. I did at one point in my life, but I don't anymore. I tend to, again, to seethe. When I get upset, I tend to seethe. It's my way of handling it to where I'm not being violent. I'm not like being aggressive towards anyone. But it's also, I acknowledge, not really that healthy to hold all of that emotion in. But it's usually not something I can even help. It's not like I try to do it. But I also don't want to like snap and hurt someone either, even if sometimes it does feel like they deserve it. So yeah, watching a lot of this, like you may have noticed that there were points where I was very quiet, and I don't know if you could read it on my face, but I was very upset. And and even outside of personal experiences, a lot of it also comes from just my views on a lot of things. And I believe that no one should be made fun of for reasons like this. That we should support and love and cherish everyone, no matter what they look like, no matter about anything. That they're just as valid as anyone. And like we learned in this movie, that we need to choose kindness. And luckily, Augie did get a friend group by the end. And his support system extended just beyond friends in school. His family, friends of the family, his teacher, his principal, so many people were there to stand up for him. And in the end, that's what we need to do for anyone, but especially for those who are being bullied for any reason. We need to stand up for them. So overall, like I said, the movie very much hit me personally and very hard. And while it may not be like up there in terms of my favorite movies, I do think because of its messages and themes, it is powerful and important. But it definitely wasn't perfect. One of my issues with it was the pacing. Um, it seemed to be cut up into sections, each based on like a different character at times. But then other times it just kind of abandoned that idea. And it just seemed like a weird choice. Not to mention the movie just felt longer than it needed to be. I feel like they could have gotten the same story across in like maybe 20 less minutes. Um, and honestly, I just think that they really could have cut it back a little bit. Um, but that's really my only big issue. Anything else would just be a nitpick about certain things. Um, I would say that the biggest strength of this is the actors. All of the actors for literally every character did a phenomenal job. I would say this is one of Owen Wilson's best roles. Um, but everyone here did great. Julia Roberts was great. The sister was great. Miranda's actress was great. Um, Jack's actor, and so on and so forth. Everyone did a really great job. Daveed Diggs, which like that was fun that he was in there. He was a great role though. Like I liked the teacher a lot. Um, and David did a very very good job. I still need to see that Snowpiercer series. Um, he's great in Hamilton though. If you haven't seen Hamilton, I don't know if it's still on Disney Plus, but if it is, check it out. If you haven't seen it, and if you have seen it, watch it again. It's really good, and David is awesome in it. Um, but yeah, all of the actors really sold these characters and made it really work. Augie's actor especially was just he made this movie. His performance was fantastic and so believable, heartbreaking, but inspirational too. You just felt every emotion you could with his character, and I just really loved it because of this young actor's performance. And I like how we even see a lot of messages beyond just the typical inspirational stuff. We even see with Julian how a lot of times kids are very much influenced by their parents. In fact, almost all the time, the parents' influence will affect the kids. How they think, how they act, what they believe will be directly affected by the parents. So seeing Julian's parents being absolute pieces of shit who were just as horrible, just as much bullies. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I felt it coming too. It's just I couldn't stop it. But seeing that they were just as much bullies, seeing that they were just as bad, actually even worse, honestly, it definitely explains why Julian was like that. But as is always said, it explains it, but it doesn't excuse it. And in the end, we saw how remorseful Julian was. Not just because he was his parents were going to remove him from the school. It seemed like he actually genuinely felt bad about what he had done. That he realized how bad it was. And even others who were pretty bad to him at first too, like Amos, came around. But it's good to show that a lot of time these kids are just a lot of these bullies are this way a lot of times because of how their parents treat them. Not that that's not always the case, but a lot of times it is. And their parents don't raise them in any more positive of a way so that they won't do that. And they tend to ignore when they find out about this or play it off or try to just say like, oh, my kid can't be a bully, my kid's the best. And it's just like it's so bad. And I like how it shows how kids can, well, be kids in that they do things that are stupid and bad and wrong, but can genuinely come back from that and become the best of friends. We see that Jack became Augie's first friend, but that because of the influence of Julian and all of them, he started to trash talk Augie behind his back, which Augie found out about, and it broke them apart. And once he found out, once he realized what he had done and what he had said, he was mortified by it, by his own actions. And even before that, he was wondering why Augie was suddenly ignoring him. He genuinely wasn't sure. He genuinely wanted to still be friends with Augie. And it's just they really go into these topics heavily. And the movie also focused on some other characters and their issues too, such as Augie's sister and her issue with feeling left out. Because Augie as their grandmother had put it in that flashback, has so many angels already looking out for him. She didn't. She didn't have anyone except her grandmother. And when her grandmother passed, she felt neglected and alone. And while, yeah, there was a little bit of maybe selfishness in there, feeling resentful towards her brother because of it, it's a genuine, real issue that a lot of kids go through in situations like this. A lot of kids will feel neglected by their parents because of situations like this, and it will hurt them. And it doesn't mean that they don't love their siblings. It doesn't mean that she didn't love Augie. She adored Augie. But she wanted attention too. She missed having that attention from her mom. And it's sad. And in the end, they both realized it. She realized just truly how much she does love Augie, and genuinely had worked to show him that, while the mother realized how much she had been neglecting her daughter all that time. And we see a lot of situations that really feel real, that feel like they are situations any of us could relate to, any of us could have possibly been through. Nothing in this feels too outlandish. Nothing in this feels too unrealistic or exaggerated. It all feels real. And again, a lot of that is speaking from personal experience. And as sucky as that is, that personal experience has shaped a lot of my life. It's shaped a lot of how I treat and look at others. And in a way, in a weird way of looking at it, I wouldn't trade that. Because I value so greatly the way I view others nowadays. I value how much I try to care for people, no matter what. And I oftentimes get really emotional hearing just even reading a story on social media about a kid going through some kind of illness or something. I get really emotional and want to see the best for them. And it's because of my own experiences that I feel that way, I think. It's because of what I've gone through that I'm able to empathize with these kids, with people in general, so easily. And so I'm almost, I wouldn't say I'm glad that I went through that, but I'm glad that I could use those experiences to shape who I've become. And I think that's the best thing any of us can do, having gone through bullying and whatnot, is to use that to be better people going forward. Whether, no matter which side we were on, or even if we were on both sides at one point or another, use those experiences to become better people, to push past all of that, and make things better for the future, not only for yourself but for others. And that's a lot what I take from this, is that we need to just be kind to each other. No matter what the situation, no matter what a person looks like, no matter what a person may be going through, no matter what a person's into, etc., etc. We need to be kind to them. Show them that we're a loving, caring people. And so yeah, this movie very much hit hard, and it did really bother me at times. And there's a lot that did get me to tear up. But amongst all of that, there is value in the messages, in the themes, in the lessons that this movie teaches. There is value that a lot of people still need to learn about, that a lot of people still need to find and apply in their own lives. And so I just ask everyone watching this, when you see someone who might be struggling, when you see someone, whether in your work or school or whatever, who might be different, who might be unusual, or especially if you see someone who is being bullied in any way, at any age, be the kindness that you would want to see extended out to yourself. Be the light in someone's life. And just be there for someone when they need someone there for them. Thank you all so much for watching. And thank you to Smurf for donating. I really do appreciate you choosing this movie. Because it's another one of those movies I would have never seen otherwise. So thank you so much. And for Smurf and for anyone else, if you have an idea for a donation reward and have the ability and desire to donate, feel free. You get a reward for every donation, no matter how big or small. And it's completely optional, so you don't have to feel obligated to do it if you can't, or if you just don't want to. It's just a way to get some extra reactions up on the channel and to do movies a little more often than they would otherwise come. But yeah, if you have any ideas, you can let me know down in the comments, and we can talk it out and figure it out. And if I haven't seen the movie, I can react to it. And you can even choose other stuff than just movies. You can choose TV shows, you could choose YouTube stuff, whatever you want, basically, as long as I haven't seen it. But again, I do thank you all, either way, for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.